Hello, hello, and welcome once again to another edition of Quoth the Raven, Lewis Bright Raven. I'm your host, Lewis Bright Raven, 33-year veteran writer, artist, editor, publisher, talent scout, and comics journalist. Chris Hall, my co-host, is in the chat. Hello, 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 hello. It's Monday. It's Monday Manga night. Our books tonight are Ghost in the Shell, The Human Algorithm, Volumes 1 and 2. I kind of made a mistake. I'd had these for a long time and had not read the books. And I thought it was just these two because I hadn't seen any more for a long time. And then I found out otherwise. So I did quickly order as much as I could. And at around 6 p.m., I got volumes 3 and 4, but I haven't had a chance to read them yet. So bear with me. We will get to them in a future episode. Okay. Let's see. What this is about. Ghost in the Shell, The Human Algorithm, Volumes 1 and 2, publisher Kodansha Comics. Writer Junichi Fujisaku, with a translation by Stephen Kohler. Artist is Yuki Yoshimoto. Lettering by Paige Pumphrey. Editor for the English edition is Nathaniel Gallant. Format is digest, black and white. 256 pages approximately. I think one might be a little bit shorter than the other. Age rate 16 plus for violence and nudity. Released originally in June 23, 2020 and November 16, 2021, with more volumes to come and be reviewed. What it's about. In this series, set after the events of Ghost in the Shell 1.5, Human Error Processor, which I have not read, Major Kusanagi has disappeared, and the Section 9 Special Task Force must continue to fight against cyber-terrorism, and cybernetic crimes against the population. At the end of the first Ghost in the Shell manga volume, partly adapted for the 95 Mamoru Oshii directed movie, franchise lead character Major Motoko Kusanagi merged her consciousness with the artificially evolved digital entity, the Puppeteer, to ascend to a new form of being. This new version of Kusanagi shed her human limitations and uploaded her mind into the web, seemingly discarding her physical form. What became Ghost in the Shell 1.5 was Shirow's original idea for a sequel, but he abandoned it after 4 chapters and started over. It features a Kusanagi-less public security Section 9 and focuses on Batou and Tagusa as they continue their jobs investigating cybercrime. A post-physical Kusanagi does cameo in one chapter, and I do intend to formally review the entire 1.5 at some point, but this is the series I discovered first. The Human Algorithm seems much more closely aligned with Human Error Processor than earlier stuff based on what I've looked at online for Human Error Processor. It focuses mostly on Batou and Tagusa, as I said. And while they're still investigating cybercrimes, in this series, Kusanagi is a name that's dropped plenty of times, and the mystery of her current non-corporeal existence is one of the ongoing plots as they try to find her after they find her shell abandoned in a pile of discarded cybernetic bodies. To that end, Tsuga and a new female recruit, Tsunagi, pair up to investigate a possible link to a religious group called the Atori. Meanwhile, Batou, who is unaware of the discovery of the major shell, investigates differently. Tsunagi, who is a new character, a recently recruited female officer acquired from the so-called Channeling Bureau, which is another reference to a different anime in the series. I can't remember what NMI stands for off the top of my head now. I know I should. Whose body, like Tagusa's, is primarily biological. Tagusa at least has a cyber brain interface that allows him to access the web via his brain, but Tsunagi doesn't even have that. Instead, Chief Aramaki has recruited her for her innate psychometric abilities. That means she can touch an object and get psychic images of who held it or left an imprint on it. She seems to be able to read the memories of recently deceased people without requiring cyberbrain access. This element of psychic-type powers does add a level of fantasy that was previously absent from the series, but it is fully in keeping where Shirow took the MMI series. That being said, Tsunagi is kind of an irritant as a character. She seems very immature and seems to have a crush on Tagusa. There's a running joke that where she and Tagusa are sent on undercover missions, posing as a newlywed couple, and she seems to relish pretending to be his wife. Now, of course, if you know the story or know the characters, Tagusa is, of course, a happily married man and is horrified by Tsunagi's overly familiar behavior. Now, as the story progresses, Tsunagi does eventually become a little bit less irritating and more sympathetic, primarily because she gains some other personality traits. As it ends up, she finds out that, or we find out that she has a tragic backstory, and she endures an incredible gauntlet of suffering in the chapters. And apparently, it's going to get worse in Volume 3 because I guess she's the focal character more so. But she really gets put through the ringer in this first main story arc. There's a large cast with multiple factions our investigators are having to work through. A corrupt business that manufactures faulty prosthetics bodies. An Okinawan Yakuza-run company fighting a turf war against an aggressive Chinese triad, a creepy religious organization, the Torii, that I mentioned earlier, who eschew all modern technology yet provide a prosthetic body disposal service, which is, kind of like a direct conflict, but okay. Add in some secondary characters with complex familial and business relationships. Secret labs growing gifted infants in fluid-filled glass vats, and a seemingly unkillable and untrackable assassin, and a charismatic mayoral candidate with an almost messianic obsession with cyberization, meaning let's make cyber bodies for everybody. You get us everybody, everybody gets everybody. There's a lot going on in this story, but are they going to find the major in this story, or is she truly gone, and is everything about her in this story an abstraction? That is something that is hinted at in these first 2 volumes as well. And like I said, what I didn't know when I got these was there was going to be 7 or 8 volumes, and now there are a few more out. But I got the first 2, and I hadn't seen any for years, so I thought that was the only 2 there were. So what did I think? It's sit around unread since 2021 when I first got them. Like I said, I never knew there was more than the 2 volumes, and I would have waited to review the whole series until I got the whole series if I'd realized that. But these were supposed to come in a couple of weeks. They actually arrived today, so that's good. I can get back to it. The story is paced very similarly to the standalone Complex and the Ghost in the Shell Arise anime series, which Junichi Fujisaku wrote and directed the latter anime series, so that tracks. For those who don't know, Fujisaku is also known for his contributions to the Blood the Last Vampire franchise. So he's a good writer, good director. Now, personally, I do think that works fine in an anime series, but in manga, I find that it can work sometimes against you. I think there's maybe 1 or 2 subplots or 2 subgroups too many in this story, because I'm reading 2 whole books, over 480 pages of story, and 80% of what's being told is clearly world building and set up for the real action to come in future editions. I am not for or against Tsunagi as a character at this point, but she is very much like a teenage kid's sister to the team than she is a real member of the team. And part of that is just they're hazing her because she's a new kid and because her youth compared to the other members of the team's ages and stuff like that. But I think as the character evolves throughout the 2 volumes, and I suspect the real upheaval of the character is in Volume 3, I just haven't read it yet, we'll see how she actually relates more to the characters after that. The art by Yuki Yoshimoto is all over the place. Some of it is absolutely gorgeous, and some of it, well, I guess I understand why he's jumping styles. If it's certain elements of story, but there's places where he does chibi type versions of the characters and others where they're not chibi but very loose, extra cartoony miniature versions of the characters instead of the primary style that he draws in. And it kind of throws me off a little bit. It would take me out of the story for a minute while I was like, why is it like this? Why is it being drawn like this? I didn't quite understand that. Whoops, sorry. So that's part of what I did there. I do give them 3.5 stars overall. And here is some of the artwork. Now these are like the early first opening where they find the Major's body in the dump. And it looks nice, very detailed work. Yoshimoto has a lot of layers going on in here. Some of this is clearly hand-drawn, some of this is clearly digital. He's got a lot of digital erasing, a lot of digital layers for cloud cover and other things going on in these pages, on these particular ones. Whoops. There you go. Very nice textures in his line art and the feather against the digital duotone shading on the bottom of the first panel there. More dark panels again from the second for the duo shading. Looks like there's like 3 or 4 different layers of duo shade on that. Digital duo shade. It's a nice cut from page to page. But you can see there's a lot of digital touch-ups. This is the charismatic leader that wants to get everybody to have prosthetic bodies. I think the younger kid sister type character brought in serious situations is a reoccurring, yeah, it can be. Then this is Tsunagi trying to get the other two to shut up so that she can do her report, and they're just mocking her until finally the boss man says, "Hey, shut up and let her do her job." But I want to see if I can find what I mean by the chibi type stuff. Okay. This is what I mean by the chibi type stuff. At the bottom here, you got a really good tight, and then like a kind of a chibi looking face. Then they're kind of like normal style again, and then they get back to this weird, small person thing, which is completely different from the other regular art that you just got seen, and little things like that distracted me a little bit. So that's why I gave it a little bit lesser score on that. Okay, so again, 3.5 for so far for this series. I will not get to 3 and 4 next week. I'm going to go 2 weeks because I've already scheduled another book for next week because I thought this would take a little bit longer. So next week, what we will be talking about is Kitaro by Shigeru Mizuki. And as soon as I get this read in my possession to the full knowledge, I will go back to update the rest of what I think about this series for Ghost in the Shell. Tomorrow night, we'll be doing crowdfunding and indie talk, where my guest will be creator Jamie Jones of Monkey Fighting Robots, The Baboon, and Spacow, where we'll be discussing his comics and the Indie Comics Creator Con, which takes place later this month on March 15th, 2025, up in Connecticut. I can't remember the exact place they're having it. It's at a college. I can't remember exactly which one, but well, I'll have that information tomorrow. In the meantime, thanks for watching. If you want to reach me, I recommend other anime or manga to read, rather. Contact me at Lewis.BrightRaven on Facebook, at the Muskrat channel, at LewisBrightRaven 2, deviantart.com/BrightRaven, where you can see my artwork. You can always like, share, and subscribe here at Quoth the Raven, Lewis Brett Raven on YouTube. You can email me at quotheravenlbr72@gmail.com. And if I don't get back to you through that email, try lewisbrettraven@yahoo.com. That's all for now. We'll see you next time. Quoth the Raven, nevermore.